Quick warning, if you're a connoisseur of flings or situationships, then you might want to skip this one. This episode is for the men who are serious about showing up in their relationships, the ones who are building, watering, and growing something real. Some might call it courting, others might just call it grown man business. Either way, this one's for you. For this episode, I've invited a good friend of mine. TK, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for joining us, my brother.
Yeah.
Please introduce yourself.
Thanks for having me, my boy. When I heard about what you were doing with the podcast, I was very excited when you invited me. I think these are very serious conversations that we need to have as men, especially for the future generations. They need to understand what it is that men need to do to become the best versions of themselves, I guess.
I like that. And to your point, there's a lot of important topics and issues that we can get to address, and I'm really, really excited to unpack and to pick your brain on that.
Yeah.
And I think without further ado, we can jump straight into it.
Yeah.
And as mentioned to the audience, we're going to be tackling something that a lot of people maybe don't want to voice their opinion on, because we shy away from, who am I to speak on this, because no one's perfect. And we all acknowledge that no one's perfect, but at the end of the day, the only way we will get better at doing something is if we have a conversation about it.
Yeah.
And that's always been something I believe. And when we look at, starting off by looking at the past, when we look at how traditionally men showed up in relationships, what do you think, or what stood out to you the most when you look back in terms of how they showed up in relationships?
Yeah, well, I mean, to be honest, I think it was treated more like a game where the woman was the prize that you had to win. And then from that, it just turned into the role of a provider, I guess. Typically just material provision. Yeah, I think that's for me, from what I've seen, that's for me what most men from the older generation or previous generations believed.
Yeah, 100%. And I agree with you. I think when I look back as well to previous generations and how they showed up in relationships, I think the man in the relationship was very one-dimensional.
Yeah.
His identity was, can he provide?
Yeah.
Can he protect?
Yeah.
And that obviously stripped away other qualities for him to explore. So 100% I agree with you that in the past that definitely stood out. And in terms of how this has since evolved to our generation now, to how we are showing up, what do you think can we speak about this evolution from, you are just there to win the prize, which is the woman, and then after that it turns into what it then turns into of your responsibility is provision, etc., to where we are now.
Yeah, I mean, that's quite tricky. I'm not entirely sure a lot of it has changed. I think for the most part, I know for me, I had to do a lot of work for myself. A lot of work on myself for me to get to a point of realizing that there's much more than being the material provider. There's much more than just being the protector. I think I've come to realize that you get to change the definition of provider. Being an emotional comfort is a form of provision. Being someone who can be there for the person that you're with outside of material things. I think that is, the provision is all encompassing in all aspects of life, if I can call it that. Yeah.
I hear you. So we have since changed from, and to those that watched the first episode, we obviously defined what it means to be a man, and the conclusion we came up with was that the prerequisite is always going to be provision and protection.
Yeah.
But then on top of that, we've evolved whereby the man is supposed to be more nurturing. He
Yeah.
has to be emotionally available.
Yeah.
Right. So I think to your point, we've evolved from just within your relationship with your partner that you're going to provide, you're going to protect. But
Yeah.
are you available emotionally?
Yeah,
is
yeah,
where we're
yeah,
at.
yeah.
And then I think my question to you would be, the picture you've just painted now of
Yeah.
Being emotionally available, et cetera, et cetera. Would we say that that is the picture we're seeing in our own relationships now, or is that the final destination? Should we call that the pinnacle of a perfect relationship?
Yeah, well, I think, yeah, you can call it that. It would be the epitome of what a relationship should be. Whether we're seeing it in our own relationships, I think what the relationship then turns into is the work, the journey of the relationship. It stops being about getting to a certain destination,
Yeah.
but more about the journey. Are we learning from each other?
Yeah.
Am I available, like you said? And it goes beyond just physical and emotional, but there's also spiritual availability that you have to consider. There's a lot, and I don't think you will be in that position without all the work.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think for me, I'd like to think that relationships have turned more into working and realizing that they need work. And it's not something that just happens because she's there and you're there.
Then it magically just happens.
Yeah.
And I like that. And that easily allows us to get into the next question. What I want to do now is for us to define what it means for a man to show up in a relationship, right? Because yes, of course, within your relationship, one has to be able to provide and protect, which is, your duty as a man. But then when we say someone is showing up within their relationship, you have to be able to meet your person at where they're at, to be able to be communicative, and that's something that I feel like in our generation we're getting better at being communicators.
Yeah.
And I think it's very important. And it's time, I think, for relationships to now be viewed more of a partnership.
Yeah.
Because I think in past generations it was more of, yes, fair and fine, men should lead, right? Because that's our role. But I think the wise men are good listeners. I think the wise men are ones who understand that I've chosen this person as my partner for a reason, because of the way she thinks, etc. So I think the contribution in decision making, etc. What I've also seen now is a shift of, because in the past in relationships, the man was this is what's happening, it's happening right now, but now I think the evolution is going to benefit society, because now the decision has got more value, because it's coming from a lot of people. And a wise person is able to take all that in and make the decision. So I think now in this day and age of showing up in a relationship, one has to be able to communicate, and I think there has to be a level of maturity and self-awareness in how you show up, because I think a lot of times we're unaware of what we're dealing with and all that, and learning from all those things. So I think when one shows up, you try by all means to show up as a whole person. So that in my view is how a man should show up in a relationship. I don't know if you have anything to add on to that.
Well, I think you've got it spot on. At the end of the day, two heads are better than one. So I also think that a lot of men used to believe that my way or the highway. The truth is, guys, we don't know everything. We unfortunately do not know everything. And for a lot of you, you'll find that, I think I sent you something on Instagram that just showed you that a lot more women are graduating from university than men. So you can see that the women seem to be putting in a lot more effort into developing themselves on a professional basis.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With that is going to come certain attributes that would be beneficial for a relationship. It's very, very easy for a woman to be better at managing money than you. And you have to be someone.
Why is that?
Hey? No, I'm saying it's possible. I'm not saying like it's a statistic or anything. I'm just saying it's very easy for the person that you're with in your particular certain things than you. So how is it that you then want to be the one who says, no, I decide how this goes.
Yeah.
I decide where this goes. I mean, you're just limiting the potential of the relationship. You have to look at it, like you said, from a partnership point of view, where you're trying to get somewhere.
Yeah.
And you've got all the resources available to you. Why aren't you going to use the biggest resource that you have?
Yeah.
Your partner.
Exactly.
So yeah.
And I think when we start to view it like that,
Yeah.
you know, to say, look, I already have this at my disposal. You know, why am I not utilizing it to its full capabilities?
Yeah.
I think then we'll start to see relationships that evolve into something really beautiful,
Yeah,
really
definitely.
powerful
Definitely.
relationships.
Yeah.
And I'm excited for, you know, what the future looks like there.
Yeah.
And on that, a lot of times when we view, because obviously relationships, the goal is to then get to marriage, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
What do you think are some outdated beliefs that people have about relationships, you know?
Outdated, the woman in the kitchen. That's gotta be the first one for me. Not that I'm against your wife or partner deciding that they want to be very active in the kitchen. No, I'm not against that, but I think it's the expectation that I'm against. You can't honestly. We live in a world where, say, even washing machines, dude. You can't have the sole responsibility of turning on a washing machine be the woman's job. So anyone can do that. Cooking, same thing. A lot of guys are actually very good cooks, and it's something that would benefit the entire household at the end of the day. Sharing those responsibilities. I think a lot of the household chores, there's a lot of work that can go into splitting them in a way that makes sense, in a way that obviously works for the household. So I mentioned household things. Bills. I don't really want to get into that because I know I know a lot of people might not be very happy about that.
But I mean, at the end of the day, you are expressing your views.
Yeah, my views. Yeah. Okay. Well, like I said, depending on who you choose.
100%.
There's a lot of people that get into really good professions that would be able to help out with some of the bills, or in certain instances be able to be the ones bringing in most of the money. You shouldn't. I think a relationship needs to work with what's on the ground, as opposed to what expectations society has typically had. I mean, dude, I can't for the life of me see a place in which, say, the woman is the CEO of a company, and the guy is a janitor. And I know I've made the gap very, 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 very big. But I mean, say you have a situation like that. Are you expecting to live in a one-bedroom apartment when your wife is a CEO? Or is she expecting to live in a one-bedroom apartment, even though she can definitely afford to to add a lot more to the lifestyle that you have. I think those are questions that need to be answered, and I think reason also comes in a lot there. Yeah.
And I think it takes. I think maybe let me start off with the first point that you raised. I 100% agree with you in terms of we need to evolve from a situation where in a relationship the woman is looked at as very one-dimensional.
Yeah.
The woman will just clean, cook, and nurture the children.
Yeah.
Yes, 100% we acknowledge that women have better nurturing capabilities than men, but as we mentioned, men need to grow into being better nurturers. The same way we can't, women are now within the professional realm.
Exactly.
Myself and my partner could both be working a 9 to 5.
Yeah.
We knock off at the same time.
Same time.
But then when we get home, I'm looking at you like, make a plan, cook.
Gonna put my feet up on the table and and wait for you to.
So it's a bit unrealistic now, for us to expect that. There needs to be, like you said, you need to understand your person. You need to communicate with your person, how you're gonna do things. I think we've evolved from this place where we felt like even within our own homes, there's someone who's sitting there, which is society, who's the judge to say, oh, you cooked today. I think we've evolved from that kind of place whereby we can choose what works for us. Whereby you can see that I'm knocking off on this at such a time on this day, I can probably cook, I can probably just turn on the washing machine, etc.
Exactly.
And then moving on to the bills, I think the man would have to, the ego has to die.
Yeah, of course.
100%. The ego has to die there, because I know a lot of countless times where men break their backs as well as become toxic themselves because of the sole fact that they are unable to provide at a level they would like to. And because of that, they don't even allow the woman to assist because they're now like, okay, if I can't do it, no one can. So I'll just be angry about it. So I think we need to evolve, because we now understand that we have women in professional fields, excelling in these fields. So we need to evolve to understand that 2 heads are better than one, 2 pockets are better than one.
Definitely.
We are trying to build together. And we're trying to build something that lasts.
And I think it then just goes back to what the point of your relationship is. I mean, because I know a lot of people won't be very happy with that, both on the guy side and the women, where the women might feel like, why should I work hard and still add to the household financially? You know what I'm saying? But like I said, at the end of the day, why should I pay school fees when I've got a husband? That sort of stuff. But at the end of the day, is what is the point of your relationship? What are you trying to do? You want your kids to go to good schools. You want to be able to afford stuff. So if you can, why not just let it happen? Do you know what I mean? But I mean, I think this podcast is more focused on the guy side. I definitely 100% agree with you. It's the ego. You can't. And for you to be a good leader, you need to be someone who knows your strengths and weaknesses.
100%.
Do you know what I mean? So you have to be someone who can see that, okay, my wife is a lot stronger at this. And you also then need to find a way to communicate it in a loving way. So that she doesn't feel like you're offloading your responsibility onto her. You know what I'm saying? So you need to be able to show her that, no, this is what I'm thinking. What do you think? And I think it goes back to the point that you mentioned previously. You have to be someone who can also hear or listen. So it shouldn't just be, the leadership part is not just we're doing this. You can't wake up tomorrow and say, right, your salary, that's where it's going. You know what I'm saying? You need to get there and be able to ask, what do you think about this? And then hear her thoughts and see if you're able to meet at a point of convergence. Otherwise, you then have to find a way to make it work.
And I agree. And I think a lot of people will have viewpoints on that. I think I'll always echo that as a man, you should always strive to provide.
Yeah.
But then you get into a situation where you've realized that, okay, at this, my wife is stronger.
Yeah.
You know, have the conversation.
Yeah, yeah.
Because if you don't have the conversation, it's going to fester into
Yeah,
something
definitely.
that's not good.
Definitely.
So 100% agree with you that we need to always know who our partner is.
Yeah.
And to nicely analyze that, okay, this is my reality, this is what I'm living through, etc. And then make the necessary adjustments. I think for me, in terms of outdated beliefs,
Yeah.
The role of the man in the relationship being very non-communicative and very, I will not speak about how I feel, and not being vulnerable. I think I'll have to stress discernment with this, because yes, fair and fine, there's this whole new movement of men should be vulnerable and men should speak up, which I agree with, but you need to be able to be a discerning man, to discern how you do this, and to
Yeah.
discern all those sorts of things, and to be a proactive person about
Yeah.
how you
Yeah.
yes, fair and fine, you're going through this, but be proactive about finding a solution. So I think in terms of being outdated, it's outdated to think that a man is one-dimensional and won't speak about how he feels and won't speak about what he's going through and will just show up by provision, protection, and then I'm just silent. I think that's no longer how the man operates within a relationship. He's
Yeah.
evolved into something more than just
Yeah.
a provider and a protector.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think that's one thing I wanted to add. And then also wanted to know from you, we've described now what we know, what's on the ground is, we've spoken about what happened in the past. We've
Yeah.
spoken about what's currently going on. And we've spoken about the ideal, right?
Yeah.
So now, from your experience, what do you feel are the qualities that make a healthy partner in a relationship?
From the guy's perspective.
The guy's perspective,
Okay.
yes.
Yeah, like I think I told you that I'm not really chuffed to be speaking about this because
Yeah.
of, like you mentioned, we all feel like we're so imperfect. Yeah, but for me, I think the first thing is going to be communication. Now, are you someone who can communicate? And I think I'll have to give a shout out to one of my cousins who explained what communication is. Communication isn't you saying something or saying how you feel
Gotcha.
about something and saying that I've told my partner.
Yeah.
It's mainly in the what did they hear? So you can say something well-intentioned, but it might not land in that way. So the communication part is in the making sure it lands the way you meant for it to.
Gotcha.
So that's where the asking after comes in. You say something, what did you hear? Is a good place to start. What did you understand from what I've said?
I have a question with
Yeah.
that. I don't know if this is the right word to use, but
Yeah.
wouldn't the recipient of that question find that a bit condescending?
Why?
I've just spoken to you already, now I'm asking you again, I don't know. I'm just trying to think in her shoes, would she be like,
Are you doing it in a loving way? That's the question. So it's not rocket science.
Yeah.
You can tell if someone has understood.
yeah,
There's instances where obviously you don't have to go and ask because the response that you'll get
Is I
will show that I understand.
yeah,
Do you know what I'm saying? But there's instances where you're going to need to confirm that what you, especially with the touchy subjects, you have to be intentional about making sure that the message that you intended to put out is what was received. So I think that for me is going to be. I always say this to a lot of people. There's no such thing as over communication. I mean, of course, there's some things that,
yeah,
my nigga, keep to yourself. But
TMI.
but there's no such thing as over communication. I know lots of people probably get annoyed by having 20-hour conversations, but sometimes that's just what's necessary.
Yeah.
Make sure that you're both on the same page about something. And you can't do that without having the conversation. And sometimes those conversations will drag for a very long time, which leads into the next point that I've got. I think intentionality. You have to be intentional about everything, whether it's communication or whether it's planning dates, birthday presents, whatever it is. I know I'm mentioning a lot of physical stuff, but even being emotionally present, if you're going to be intentional about that, you have to give it your all. Yeah, because I think we've spoken about this before. Like, guys, we like to do things off the fly. You'll plan a date 2 minutes before the date, or you'll buy a present, or you'll plan your birthday gift like a week or two before the birthday. Yet, and I've seen this, ladies will go ahead and plan months in advance, years for some of them even. So it's all about being intentional, plus the communication that I mentioned before.
Cool.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot for that, TK. And firstly, just to touch on being intentional, I mean, when you mentioned it, I had a big smile on my face because I was just thinking that's very true. Because I don't think anything good happens without being intentional.
Yeah.
That's just good fortune.
Yeah,
Is
yeah,
what we can
yeah,
call it.
yeah.
You were passive and something good happened.
Yeah.
But you have to be intentional about becoming a better version of yourself and showing up into the relationship.
Yeah, yes.
And if you notice certain things that are kind of veering away from course, you have to intentionally address those things.
Yeah.
So 100% I agree with being intentional. And just kind of building off communication, which is something that you mentioned, I think it's very important as well for men to have a quality of being good listeners.
Yeah.
Because what you'll notice is that there are two different types of listening that you are required to possess within a relationship.
Yeah.
The first being sometimes your partner just wants to let you know how they feel or let you know what's going on, and you have to be in a position to listen to everything.
Yeah.
And then the second part is listening to advice.
Yeah.
There's a lot of times that your partner will come to you for advice. So
Yeah.
they'll tell you a long story about what's going on, but you need to be proactively listening to advise best way forward, right?
Yeah.
And obviously that means you need to listen attentively,
Yeah.
because you can't advise from a position of not knowing exactly what's going on.
Yeah.
So I think those are skills that men would definitely benefit in adding into their toolbox.
Yeah.
Another one that I wanted to just mention was just being self-aware.
Yeah.
I think it's
Yeah.
very important for us to acknowledge all our imperfections, and after reflecting and acknowledging, you have to work towards
Do the
being
work.
better,
Yep.
you know?
Yep.
And that only comes from being self-aware.
Yep.
And then that allows me to build onto the next question. We've described all these qualities of ideally how a man is supposed to show up. So then now, what of the next generation? How do we as men currently try and ensure that men are better equipped into getting into functional and healthy relationships? What is our role in that, and how do we help?
Yeah. So, look, I know we mentioned a lot of qualities that that we need as men, but I also believe that we also need the go-getter attitude as men. This, of course, you need to be good at communicating. You need to be intentional. You need to be a good listener, self-aware, etc. But you still live in a very physical world. So you need to be someone who's able to be a go-getter. I think I mentioned the stat that women seem to, there's more women graduating from tertiary schools than men. These there's nothing wrong with a stat like that, but it's worrying to see how little or how much less men are willing to do to develop themselves in terms of professionally, whether it's career-wise or whatever else it may be. We still need to encourage each other to develop ourselves in whatever area it is. So yeah, that's the first thing. I think having these conversations like we're having now is a good start. Just bringing the awareness of something needs to change in the way we view the world, in the way that we interact with the world. So yeah, I think definitely being a go-getter, definitely developing yourself. So if we can encourage the younger generations to do that, I think it would really pay off.
Got you.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot for that. And I agree that as men, the trait of being a go-getter is necessary to get anything moving. You know, firstly for yourself and then for the relationship as well.
Yeah.
And for me, I would just like to add on that for us to better prepare the next generation, we would have to mentor by presence and not by perfection.
Yeah,
you know, because I think a lot of times, like even in the beginning of the episode, we mentioned that with topics such as these, we always feel, oh, I'm imperfect. What can I say about this? But I think sometimes our presence just in the young person's journey and whatever is going through is enough. We don't have to be perfect to be in a position to direct and be in a position to assist. And another thing would be conversations such as these, acknowledging that, you know, there's something that's off and seeing a way forward. Another thing that would be necessary is having more conversations that are based on functional relationships and love. Because a lot of times when we get to speaking about relationships, etc., or speaking about men, we are directing this to success. What does success look like? Or sex, you know? So we need to transform those conversations to speak about functional relationships and about love and how that looks like within a relationship of two people. So I think I'll just add that, and I'll just add some words of encouragement to our viewers. If they are in a relationship now and this is something that they believe in, I would strongly suggest in growing this and then building this intentionally. You know? So that's something that I'd just like to add. And as we come closer to the close of the episode, I just like, there's a lot of important things I feel like we've broken down today. And if you could take away just, let's call it one piece of advice. If there's a viewer back there who's just gotten into a relationship and he's like, okay, what piece of advice would you say, okay, this is my nugget for you moving forward in your relationship as a young man who's just entered it?
I think for me, when you get to the bottom of what a relationship is, it's two people that have come together with a certain intention of somewhere they want to be. My advice would be focus on being there for your person. That for me, half the time solves a lot of issues that you might have in the future. Just focus on being good for that person, not just being there. Be good for that person, whatever support it is that you can offer. Be able to give that. I hate that a lot of times relationships turn into what can you give me, and what is it that you are putting on the table. A lot of the time we have that conversation, what does she bring to the table, 100%. etc.
And love has left that group.
It's no longer there. So I think, and if you get down to the definition of love too, you're going to find all the small little things that make up that big word of love. So get into that relationship knowing that you probably want to better this person's life.
100%. Yeah. And I think you've touched on something that I also wanted to speak on. We think a lot when we hear the word relationship, and we think about all these various other things that we're supposed to be doing. But at the crux of it, you'll notice that you're in this relationship because one, you're trying to better this person, and this person makes you a better person, and you love them, right? So just to add on to what you said, the biggest thing I think is being intentional. For me, I think I would tell our viewers that in their journey within their relationship, be very intentional. You know, about what it is that you're trying to build and who it is that you want the two of you to become. And once there's an intentionality, you will see you now have a clear plan and a clear understanding of what's going on. So that's what I would urge our viewers, and also to just do some reflection, because a lot of times when a relationship doesn't go accordingly, it's easy to play the blame game. But you need to get to a level of being self-aware with yourself, that you know that I'm not perfect. So that would be my advice to those who are entering relationships, to be intentional, and to your point, to understand that you are in this relationship to support and to love this person. You know, and obviously not taking away from everything that we've already said in this conversation. But again, TK, thank you so much for joining me, my brother.
My boy.
I've really enjoyed this, and I hope that people find value in this, and someone in a relationship there or wanting to get into a relationship finds this encouraging or as guidance. And to our viewers at home, thank you so much for joining us today. That brings us to the end of the episode. And if you're new to the platform, make sure to like and subscribe so that you can be notified for the next episodes. Drop a comment if you want us to discuss other topics, and we'll have a look at that and we'll bring that through. Thank you so much. Let's keep growing and let's keep building. Cheers.